Thanks for coming back, guys. This is Computer Guy Reviews, and today we're talking about the Kutime Switch Pro controller. It's wireless, obviously, and this is the blue and red version. Alrighty, so we're going to hit some key points here. We're going to talk a little bit about the design, sturdiness of the controller, connection, as well as battery and charging. Alright, so let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to talk a little bit about the design. So this controller, if you can kind of see it here, is a pretty standard style controller. Has the little triggers and the bumpers on the top. It does have, I believe, a turbo button as well. So it's got standard controls. It has little lights depending upon which controller you're holding to the console. You could be first player, second player, third player, fourth player. That's relatively standard for most of these. Has USB Type-C, which is good because most switches and stuff that this connects to, they use Type-C as well. This does have grip. I've talked about it a little bit with another controller that I did that it didn't have grip. This actually has some texture. This whole, pretty much where you see this blue ring, everything below it here is like a rubberized texture, which is good. Holding it in your hand, it feels nice and sturdy. It doesn't feel like if I flicked it or something like that, that it would fly out. That would have been terrible. It feels comfortable in the hand when you play. If you use it for a long period of time, sometimes that's why people don't like the textured ones, is they kind of make your hands sweaty. These felt nice and cool. They didn't. I played for 6-7 hours, relatively nonstop. I might put it down every so often, but no, it felt nice and comfortable. With it being kind of more thinner, it still fits my hand pretty well without feeling like a big bulky controller. So the sturdiness. So obviously this is made of plastic. It's not made of aluminum. That's pretty standard for most controllers. Just making sure most of these are relatively sturdy. It's hard to come across ones that aren't sturdy anymore, but this one in particular is pretty good. Buttons are nice and responsive. They don't feel like there's like a little latency or anything like that. When you press a button, your player does what it needs to do. So now we're going to talk about connection. These are pretty easy to connect. One side note, if you're trying to connect more than one of these to another console, generally they can only be connected to one console at a time. But at the same time, if you're trying to connect, let's say, two of these to two separate switches, it's better to go at least 30 feet away or in another room, just so that they're not having interference, like your controller winds up getting synced to somebody else's switch. You don't want there to be any complications. And again, that's not the manufacturer's fault. It's just a limitation of the devices. That's all. We're going to talk about battery and charging. So we talked a little bit about using Type-C, which is great because, like I said, your Switch is going to use a Type-C to charge it. You can use just one charging cable to charge this as well. This also does support fast charging, which is good because generally your charging cable for your console does support fast charge. This one has a 500 milliamp hour. Some of the other ones I've seen generally about 350, 400. This one actually has a little bit larger battery life, and it doesn't feel any heavier. I got easily 8 hours. And yeah, okay, so I played it for a little bit, might have set it down for a few minutes or so, but generally I got a good solid 8 hours. And I've had this so far probably about 5 months. Let's go ahead and jump into the recap here. So, feels good, feels comfortable. I'm glad that it has grips on it. It's lightweight enough that it doesn't feel too heavy over a long period of time. Buttons don't feel cheap. Very responsive. There's no latency whenever you're pressing the buttons or anything like that. Easy to connect. Again, as a side note, just make sure that if you're trying to connect multiple controllers to multiple devices, then make sure you probably just do it in separate rooms. Great battery life. Again, 500 milliamp hour definitely gets you a long time, and it does support fast charging, so whenever it does run low or out, it's pretty quick to charge it. So with all that being said, give it a 5 out of 5. And the biggest reason why is the grips. Like I said, I'm picky about stuff like that. I'm more of a textured person. If you're not, that's fine. Like I said, I've got other reviews of other controllers. Go check them out. I'm glad to see that these guys are doing that. Don't forget, guys, to subscribe. If you haven't already, please hit that little bell button. Get notified whenever we do our videos. We're going to put all the affiliate links in the bottom. Make sure you check those out if you're interested. And also, I'm putting in affiliate links for if you guys are looking for cheap wireless plans. Mint Mobile's definitely worth taking a look at that. I've got those links in the below. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.